News Corp columnist Angela Mollard and entertainment reporter for news.com.au, Bronte Coy. Ladies, it was great to see Princess Catherine at the helm of her Christmas Carols concert again this year, and more so over such a tumultuous year as the one she's had. Bronte, can you run us through the order of proceedings for this year?
Yes, as you said, this was such an exciting event. In the lead up, there was so much excitement here in Britain and all over the world, and absolutely wall-to-wall coverage of the event itself, which we will see broadcast on Christmas Eve. But we know how it went. We saw Kate arrive, and she looked wonderful and festive in her red coat with black bow. She was greeted by the Dean of Westminster, and we had the other royal arrivals then. The Dean of Westminster was running the service. We had some carol performances by artists like Paloma Faith and Olivia Dean and Gregory Porter. There were readings by actors such as Richard E. Grant, Michelle Dockery, and the Prince of Wales himself. It was just a really beautiful service. There was also a ballet performance. So the whole thing seemed to go off without a hitch, and it was just wonderful to see Kate back front and centre. There were some concerns a few months ago that, you know, she may not be able to run this event that she loves so much, but there she was looking great, and it all seemed to go off without a hitch. So it was wonderful to see.
It really did, didn't it? And Angela, I love the theme. It was very fitting for this year, wasn't it?
It absolutely was, Caroline. It was kindness, it was empathy, and it was being there for each other. And the most memorable thing for me was the illustration on the front of the Order of Service, which was absolutely beautiful. It was by Charles Mackesy, and it says there, "How did I help? You were by my side, which was everything." Now, to me, this message is very universal. It's designed to appeal to all the carers and all the people that have worked so hard behind the scenes and never, you know, their work is just that quiet, unseen work. But it was also a message, I interpret it this way anyway, to William. It was Kate saying to William, "You were there and you were there for me." And I don't think we've seen the royals give such a personal message. I mean, this is not really, you know, they don't usually get down and personal with it. They keep things fairly opaque. But on this occasion, I think it really signalled what's important to them. And kindness, family first, is going to me, it felt like there was an alignment with how they see themselves to be going forward. When they, of course, eventually take the throne, when William is king, his monarchy has to stand for something. He's talked a little bit about that little R royals instead of capital R royals, denoting that he's going to get down more with the people. Well, this illustration to me said, we really understand people and we really understand what's important to our family. And that's about being close, about the three children being close to their parents, to their grandparents, and family first, so that it's sort of that the difficulties with their family, I got a sense they very much want it to end with them, that when they have their children are growing up, so they want them to lean on each other and support each other as well.
And I think that there just helps with the relatability that we talk about, obviously, all the time on this show. And Bronte, earlier in the week, and probably not necessarily so relatable for everyone, but the King and Queen hosted the Emir and Sheikh of Qatar. A great opportunity for some soft diplomacy with the Middle East.
Absolutely, and a really strong example of the power that the royal family can wield in quite a subtle way, and what an asset they can be to the UK government. So by all accounts, this was a very successful visit. We had all the pomp and pageantry on display. It was wonderful to see the royals out, although Kate and Camilla had a bit of a job share situation, given that Kate is slowly coming back to royal duties and Camilla is recovering from what we now know was pneumonia. But yes, in terms of the soft diplomacy, there was some controversy around Qatar, but of course, Qatar has also got very strong business and military ties to the UK. And so it was a very important visit. And the Qatari royals were so warmly welcomed by the British royals. And at that state banquet, Charles spoke so in such a heartfelt way to him, and actually praised the Emir for the work that he'd done in helping to mediate and broker peace in the Middle East, given the current crisis there. So at the end of the day, it did appear to be a very successful visit. And again, you know, there's a lot of conversation around the role that the royals can play, but here we're seeing them deployed so effectively in working with the UK government in a way that it just indicates the power of having a non-partisan head of state and how that can be used so effectively.
Yeah, totally agree. And Angela, on the show last week, we foreshadowed the release of a new documentary about the Sussexes called The Lost Prince. It's now been released. What were the main takeaways for you?
Oh, look, this was a very damning documentary because really it effectively looked at how successful Megxit has been for Harry and Catherine. And really the sort of outlook from it was very much that they don't know what they're doing, that there's all this sort of animosity towards them. And look, a couple of things, neighbours around where they live, instead of, Meghan always talking about community, one of her neighbours was on the show talking about the fact that she's not part of the community, that she keeps very much to herself, and that for all the talk about the community, she's not really out there. Harry, a little more so. There was criticism of Archewell and the fact that they only work on their platform one day a week, their foundation, and that its earnings had dropped from 13 million to 2 million. That's the donations that it's received. There was consternation, of course, about Meghan's business interests, about the royals trying to be 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the royal family, and how that had spectacularly failed. But the real takeout was a couple of people from the military. In fact, a man who had fought in Afghanistan alongside Harry and was actually on the plane on the way home from the war with him when Harry had the idea to have the Invictus Games. This man, Ben McBean, he was saying that he just found it really unsavoury that Harry had spoken out about his family in the way that he did. He said he was a whinger. And then there was further consternation about the fact that Harry is a bit of a target because, of course, in his spare, he talked about the number of soldiers he had killed while fighting in Afghanistan. And people in the military don't like the fact that he did that. So all in all, the documentary didn't paint a particularly positive picture of the couple.
Bronte, have you got anything you'd like to add there?
Well, two things. Angela, you summed it up so well, but something else that struck me is the fact that they had neighbours speaking about them in such a way. And Harry and Meghan were so keen on privacy and reclaiming that part of their life back when they fled to the US. And at the end of the day, we saw this is a level of intrusion in their life there that you don't really see happen to the royal family here, because there is a layer of protectiveness. So that was one thing I found ironic. And another thing I found ironic is there were reports afterwards that Meghan especially felt quite hurt that people had spoken out, understandably, spoken out about their private lives. But there is a little bit of irony there, given past projects by Harry and Meghan themselves about other people's private lives. So, yeah, all in all, an interesting documentary, though.